We are back to start another crazy week in the markets. We have the latest on the US and China tariff talks, inflation data for this week. Kevin's digging deep into the charts. We're discussing that and much more today on Money Never Sleeps. Thanks for joining us today, everybody. As we get going, do us a favor. We ask it every time. We appreciate it every time. Hit that like button. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. Drop us some comments. Share us out on social media. And remember that nothing Kevin or I say is financial advice. So please do your own research before making any sort of financial decisions. Kev, we got the news yesterday that a U.S.-China tariff deal was imminent. We know that the deal with the U.K. has happened. We haven't had the U.S. deal with China is not finalized yet. There's still some questions out there. Trump can't help himself but just posting just really dumb things like let's figure this shit out. But the markets have been a little turbulent to start the day. Like yesterday, everyone was like, "Oh, markets are going to rip on Monday, pump fest. This is so bullish." And now the markets were they started the day up. I haven't seen in the last hour. I was putting the kid down for a nap, but I saw that they gave some back. It's kind of been all over the place. Meanwhile, crypto has started to retrace a bit as well. Bitcoin giving back some of its gains. Fartcoin approached $1.50 but couldn't quite get there. A lot to talk about today. How are you feeling as we start off another fun week in the markets?
Yeah, this is absolutely crazy. I'm just looking at shit right now, and it's like, what the hell? There's one stock that was trading at $3.50 the other day. It's trading at $500. I'm not talking about $350. I'm talking about $3.50. Now it's $500. Trump's got, for some reason, the markets are liking what Trump has to say. We also saw some wild transactions where people bought the shit out of calls on Friday, and they sold them this morning, making tons of money. Nancy Pelosi, I think, made 26 times her salary just on today's market moves. Guys, this is crazy. I looked at the charts. I looked at everything. I have some different opinions for where we're heading going into the end of this year. We'll talk about it today. But I've thrown out probably 80% of what I believed in out the window. And I think that something horrible is about to happen for markets. Again, I always think something horrible is about to happen. But unless Jerome Powell does something, I think worst case scenario. So I don't know where we want to start today. I know that was very, very doom and gloom, but there is a lot of stuff that we could just go over. We have to probably just start with TradFi, right? This is the crazy shit going on right now.
It's TradFi having a hell of a pump today. NASDAQ up almost 4%, S&P at 3% up, the Dow Jones 2.7%. Meanwhile, the dollar is also stronger on the day as well. If we look over at the bond markets, yields are going up, so people are selling. They're trying to move into riskier assets. We see gold is down almost 3% on the day. The move in crypto down was a little bit surprising. I mean, we're seeing Bitcoin went under 102. ETH, which had reclaimed 2,500, is back to 2,450. Solana is on the verge of going back under 170. So there's a lot of mixed signals here, but what are you seeing in the S&P?
Well, it's funny you bring up the crypto thing. We'll talk about it when we get there, but it kind of relates to what we're seeing here in TradFi. The S&P is going absolutely insane. And the interesting thing is the S&P has a very different chart than the NASDAQ and the Dow. But you can see you got a massive gap up here, right? That's a roughly about 100-point gap opening up there. That's insane. That's going to get filled. I don't know when. Maybe we have a little bit up higher, but that's a huge fucking move to the upside. I don't remember why I have 5,900 marked off here, but I'm just going to keep that in mind. Obviously, markets could push a little bit higher into OpEx. The thing was, I didn't know if we were going to see the sell-off going into OpEx or if we were going to see it coming out of it. It's probably out of it, especially since we're getting this weekend Wall Street news where Trump announces everything post-market, and then right before market, everything good comes out, right? I mean, he could have waited till today market hours to release the China trade deal news. Instead, I was up at 2:30 in the morning last night, and that shit tweeted out. And the next thing I know, the futures market doubled, literally doubled. It was trading at 80 in the morning for the ES. By the time it hit 2:30 or so, thing was trading at like 162 up. That's fucking insane. But that's, again, you're holding off the bad news until the weekend, and you're also pumping in the good news into the week. So it's like we're in this very weird spot. I don't know if he's doing it because something possibly bad could happen. Seems like he's juggling a lot of things right now too. India ceasefire, right? Gaza, he's trying to end that war. He's got Putin and Zelensky talking to Turkey this week. He's got the China trade deal, the tariffs. He's trying to have that meeting happen this week and get some of those deals signed, the 90-day pause. It seems like almost he's doing too much because something might be around the corner. And
it's like that scene in Vegas Vacation where they're at the Hoover Dam and Clark sees the water coming out of the wall, so he puts his finger in it to stop it, and then he puts in another hole pops up, he puts his finger in there, then another hole, and he puts his gum in there. All of this, like, you know, Trump's over here. Give the guy credit, like he's trying to do what he can, but a lot of spinning plates at the moment. And I really hope that they don't all come crumbling down.
Yeah,
let's go ahead. Yeah.
This is the one that was kind of scaring me. I texted it to you in house before the show. That's a fucking Head and Shoulders, guys. I don't care what anyone says. You got the left shoulder here that put us into July of 2024. Yen carry trade unwind brought us to 1742. Obviously, the push to February after the post-election, you know, Jamie Dimon, everyone else selling everything. It led down to the April low, which was 16,454. And we've had a freaking massive push to the upside here. If this thing rolls over, that's a Head and Shoulders, and that means we're probably going lower. We're probably going to be looking at these gaps somewhere between 1583 all the way down to 1464 or something like that. 14,640, my bad. So if we look for where we currently are to where those are down there, if we get to this yellow one, that's 25% move down. If we get to some of these down here, that's a 30% move down for the NASDAQ. The question is, are we going to get any type of liquidity coming in? I almost believe that we're not. And that's why I've kind of switched on this. It's because Powell continues to keep rates at where they are. You know, we've talked about this. Him and Trump are at odds. I don't care what anyone says. This guy's not going to give Trump what he wants. That's why I'm kind of worried about what tomorrow's CPI print could be, because if it's hotter, this guy might not take off rate hikes off the table. That's something that we also have to kind of keep in mind too. It's very possible with what Trump's doing, and we're seeing the yields continue to deteriorate. Something kind of has to be done. Otherwise, we're going to be looking at an absolute shit show of stagflation. So seeing the NASDAQ like this is a scary chart. And you're also seeing this on, I think, NVIDIA and Tesla also have Head and Shoulders going on too. But looking at that, and then we look at the Dow. I mean, the Dow, yeah, this is a clear double top, right? I mean, you could get another double top right here at 42,851. That's a 500-point move to the upside, right? You could open up there tomorrow, and then it's just, you know, downhill. You lose that. We could be going back down to 36, 35 once again. And you look at the stochastic RSI and the MACDs, everything is rolling over. You can see it on the NASDAQ. Everything is rolling over. S&P, same thing. Everything's at the top looking ready to roll over. We got gaps to the downside. There is no more gaps to the upside. There's zero gaps to the upside. Everything's been filled. That's a very concerning thing when you look at some of the technical analysis of just basically how these indexes have been trading. Now we look at the Russell. You know, it's not necessarily one that we're concerned about. Tons of gaps to the downside, nothing to the upside. You're seeing it across the board. And, you know, we could even talk about Asia doing stuff. You know, we broke above this, but everything.
What's going on? What's going on here? What is this? There's a lot going on in this chart. It's like
Nikkei? Don't worry about that. That just means that's an X, and this means that's resistance. But looking at this here, every time this breaks out, right, goes to downside. We've actually done something the opposite. We've broken above it. However, a little Thor's hammer up there, that could be one of two things. That could be marking the top of a market, or we could see, you know, I don't know, maybe we push up a little bit higher. Who knows? The fraud is strong with this one. But look at this here. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a fake out, along with some just taking advantage of some of the other news that we're seeing in the U.S. markets. I mean, the yen and the dollar are just out of whack now. The dollar's going up a lot higher. Still don't buy it. I think that this is going to be coming down fairly soon. And you look at the yen. I mean, the yen's broken out of this bear. So either I'm wrong, and this is a bottoming pattern for a lot of things that we're seeing out here, and the equity markets are ready to get juiced and go higher, and the yields are about to go higher on bonds, not just in the US, but in the UK, in Europe, a lot higher, and Japan as well is going to be going out of wax as well. Or this is a huge fake out, and that's the fake out's happening because there's probably distribution going on, and we're going to see a massive dump at some point. And there's some indicators that tell us that we are going to see a massive reversal or a dump, and there are people that are hedging. And honestly, the wildest thing is that the biggest signal to me that you probably could see a massive dump is the fact that the 13F filings keep coming in from April, and everyone's buying fucking GameStop. I mean, I'm even being honest here. I'm a GameStop holder. I believe in this thing. I think that this is kind of why we had these positions set up for it. They are buying it like fucking crazy. I mean, I think JP Morgan not JP Morgan. Morgan Stanley bought a shit ton, like over like $16 million. They announced that they bought, and having that exposure is either they're closing out their shorts or they know that something big is coming. And if that's the case, that there's probably a window of weakness where you're going to see a lot of squeezes and things when debt needs to be called back. Going back, one last thing we have to talk about in TradFi real quick. I was wrong too about when this debt is coming due. Let's go back to the weekly and see. We have to go back to COVID because it all stems from COVID, which is fucking hilarious. Here we are. This is the COVID, crash and everything like that. So 5 years, those 5-year debt, the loans that they would have taken out when they were near zero, that puts us right around here at the bottom of this entire crash, right? March into April, we had the big move in March of April. 5 years later, just about a month ago. Now we start to look at what's happened. The market's moved up, right? I said September, October. Yeah, there's a good amount that obviously is there because we've pushed up a lot higher from that point, but we still have all of this. So there might have been way more loans out there, way more debt that is coming due. And this and the fact that we got this massive rally as quick as we did amid all the uncertainty, amid all the things that Trump said, just kind of tells me that, okay, they need another flush of cash to come through. And this was the perfect opportunity to send equities up a lot higher. You saw the guy from JP Morgan, CFO, selling 70% of his shares. You're seeing a lot of this stuff happen across the board. This is how they get fast liquidity. But I mean, they can't do it so much to the fact that there's no one else to buy from them. So I have a funny feeling that the next move that we have to the downside is going to be worse than the one that we previously had. And we're probably not going to have the summer rally like we expected. It might come in some fashion of like low market cap things, Fartcoin, massive like low. We'll talk about RGC in a second. That one that shot from $3.50 to 500 in a single day. You're going to have those massive rallies, but I don't think you're going to see it in the big tech stocks. You're not going to see it in the S&P. You're not going to see it in the Dow, and you're probably going to be bleeding out for a period of time until the market, is pretty much paid off most of those loans. And again, when you're in low liquidity environments, things tend to move way faster than they should. So I don't know how how long this plays out, but whatever comes next. And the funny thing too is when you look at the Bollinger Bands let's go to the daily on the S&P, pull this up here. You're at the top of this one on the S&P, right? And I think if you pull up the NASDAQ, also on the top right there of this Bollinger Band, go to the VIX, you're at the bottom of it. You're right at the bottom, and this thing is closing in. And this little move to the downside today, because of them crushing volatility, which I think is crushing it before OpEx, also crushing it before CPI, tells me that we might actually have a fake out reversal coming, and this thing could be coiling up to a pretty massive squeeze, probably a higher VIX than we saw in March or April. It was April 7th. Post Liberation Day, and maybe you do break out of this white trend line, you go a little bit higher, but it's very possible you just poke up of that just a little bit. You're just seeing a lot of compression on some of these things, and it's just like, man, I don't know what they're cooking, but I know this is gonna stink when you lift the fucking lid off the pot.
All right, that was a lot to go through.
Sorry, guys.
You it's okay. You did it. It was quite impressive. Let's move. Okay, real quick, talk through. I just want to see this chart for whatever company you just mentioned that has gone from $3.50 to $500 in a day. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, so this thing, let's see. So it was trading on, right at the end of April. Actually, this is way higher. Where was this shit? Okay, maybe it was wrong. I was looking at probably the monthly or the weekly, but it was trading at like $4 back in March, right? RGC, this is Regen Cell Bioscience Holdings Limited. But a month later, this thing's trading it went all the way up to 530. And if you look at the market cap on this thing, it's only 6.4 billion. And I'm not even sharing my screen because I'm an asshole. Next time, let me know. Yeah. So this is the chart we're looking at. It was down here at about $4 or so, $3.50 back in March. And then you see you had a really good move to the upside. Boom. Came down here, consolidated.
Jesus.
Shot all the way up to 530. Like I said, it's a $6.44 billion market cap. And that's why I say these low market cap things are going to be the most volatile. This low market cap right now is no different than altcoin season. In TradFi, you're going to see these stupid things just rally like crazy. That's why
I'd like to see the fart coin chart do that, please.
I would like,
please and thank you.
I prefer if the FFAI one would do that. Obviously, we're talking about a GameStop play, but again, this is one that I said that would probably be doing something stupid as it's done in the past. Right, literally a year ago, today was the tweet from Roaring Kitty for GameStop when it started shooting up. Do I think anything's going to come out tonight? No, I think that if he does return, probably Japan's entire banking system probably fails or the yen implodes, something like that. But, Friday the 17th, a few days after, UBS hedging is the narrative. Something that was trading at like $1 shot all the way up to $157 a share. So it's very possible that we get these massive, massive wicks to the upside. And, if you're holding some of these things, you're in a great position here. Yes, I agree, Chris. FFAI first, then you can smell your own farts. Honestly, I'll smell other people's farts if FFAI goes to like 200 a share or something like that. I don't care. Man, erase that from the internet, please, guys. But let's look at, let's see there. That's just like the meme charts. And again, GameStop, very interesting too. This is why I was saying that a lot of people are hedging. You have a move coming on GameStop. I don't know if it's up or down, but you broke out of this channel. And I was just fucking around with this the other day. Maybe remove these Bollinger Bands. I was just like, oh, look at this little cup and handle. I didn't think it was going to fill the top that quick. So we might have a cup and handle on GameStop coming fairly soon. The little guy, but it's on the outside of resistance. And if you don't go back in here, you're only going up. And I continue to believe that low liquidity is the best possible thing for GameStop and these shorts that are fucked. So we're going to keep an eye on this one. This is just one of the signs where I think that something bad's coming. Institutions are buying GameStop. That's end of the world type shit there. Outside of that, let's look at Bitcoin because that one's pulling back. And that's also a really good indicator of what's happening in the TradFi markets as well, right? So Bitcoin usually precedes moves to the downside. It has not this entire year. I just put out a tweet saying that this is very not 2025 of Bitcoin to be doing this. Bitcoin's been kicking ass since it's been kicking. I mean, even when it dipped down here, look how much it bounced back. Like Bitcoin's just been on a fucking tear. We also got that, what's his name? What's the guy that we like? Michael Saylor? Yeah. He was buying Bitcoin at the top too, around the 100,000 mark. Again, buying the top once again, which is insane. Liquidity. It's going to be the key factor to Bitcoin success. If you don't have it, and Michael Saylor can't get more to keep the price up, we're going to see a lot of liquidations. That's just how convertible bonds work. They're going to ask for their shares back, going to run out of money, and then they're going to have to either sell off Bitcoin to pay off some of those, or they're just going to be in a really bad margin call situation. But I was talking about this triple top. We did not want to see Bitcoin get close to this and just get rejected. It doesn't even look like it's going to make it up there, which is unfortunate. I wanted to see it kind of get there and push above it, because that would also give me some confidence that there is a little bit more in this tank to push into the summer. If we're not seeing it now, there's a good chance that this thing, it might be done and it could be coming down to the 80 levels, which I'm being conservative.
I was gonna say we're gonna see 75K Bitcoin before we see 120K Bitcoin.
I agree, and it's just based off of what it's doing right now and how, again, everything rallied so fucking fast. That's not healthy, which tells me that the desperation was necessary post April 7th Liberation Day bullshit. But But I'm looking at 73, 74K. Again, this line, if you don't hold that, you're coming down to 64. Or 60,000. 60,000 is around the level I was looking at. There's like a Head and Shoulders, and it's a weird Head and Shoulders too. I don't really like it, but it might be one. You go here, left shoulder, head, come down. Like, you know what I mean? It's really scaly, and I don't like how it looks one bit. Let me see if I can pull this down a little bit more. But this takes us right to about the 60,000 level or so for that Head and Shoulders. Again, it's crappy. This move to the downside in Liberation Day kind of made it a lot deeper than this one that we had previous in January, but it still could be a Head and Shoulders triple top, and you could be rolling over to that 73, even as low as 60K level. I think the 120 might be a pipe dream at this point. If it wants to go up higher, fine by me, because then that means it's good for GameStop if they bought Bitcoin. So I really don't care. But that's also where you're seeing kind of the influx into altcoins, right? Altcoins were kicking ass this week. Gotta talk about Farcoin, right? Farcoin, I think hit like 150 or something like that. Almost
came close.
Oh, yeah, 147. Damn. Let's get rid of some of these LA wave triangle theories or whatever this shit is. I don't want to see that anymore. The reason is because, like I said, we've thrown a lot of things out the window. I would like to see Farcoin continue to go up. That'd be amazing. Maybe it gets to 273, and then there's a pullback, and then it forms an even bigger cup, bigger handle. Like we've talked about that. That would be very nice right around there. Just get this up, big screen. So what I would be looking for on that, again, I don't know if it'll happen considering where we're at right now in this market, but like that cup, and then we get another something like that, and that gets us to $10 a share or $10 a coin.
Oof,
that would be amazing.
Yes, please.
I would love this. I hope I'm foreshadowing something, but I do have to say I do expect liquidity to be fucked, but things like this could squeeze higher. The low liquidity environments, low market caps, I could see people going crazy over this. Already seeing it going crazy over the timeline. We still haven't gotten the listing yet. I'm sure some of these institutions would love to take your liquidity and just have your money on hand so they could, send it to the clearinghouses and make sure that their trades go through and no failures. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do get some Farcoin listings at some point, maybe this summer. Again, I don't think the whole market's going to crash now. I think we're going to have a really good move down. But that's what we're looking at. We're looking at some of these other ones like XRP, still pushing up higher. I think today it hit 264. It's up 5% right now. ETH obviously having a good move to the upside still. Is at 2460. And that's because Bitcoin dominance is also just cratered, right? So that was a kind of a sign that, okay, maybe Bitcoin is pulling back. This is altcoins chance to kind of push up here. My question is this a sign of something bigger? Like, is this alt season, or is this more of just like, we're just kind of moving things from one thing to the next to get our last plays in before the entire market kind of pulls back? 62.7 is still a high Bitcoin dominance. If Bitcoin decided to just crash or dump to the 80,000, you're looking at some bad moves in some of these alts. I wouldn't be surprised. I know this one's still trading within this wedge, this XRP. I wouldn't be surprised you drop all the way down to like 127 for that. It's a 50% move. It's very possible alts could drop 50% on the next move to the downside. ETH, I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of them, 40, 50%. I know I'm sounding like a fucking the Grim Reaper right now, but it's possible. It's very possible. Just looking at the levels. Yeah. Cardano, literally, that would make sense with support right here around 41. So yeah, maybe I'll be the first person here on the internet to say that the next drop is a 50% drop for the entire alt market. That'll spook some people, but it also might offer some great opportunities. Let's look at the Farcoin, where that would take us right now. Because again, I don't have any Farcoin, but I do want to get in on it. And if it drops enough, I'll have the balls to buy down. I don't care. 50% roughly. Oh, look at that, right at the 68 cents. Who called that one? Who said that it was going to be around 68 cents? Again, this is all astrology for grown men. TA, maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but it would be in line with the resistance line or the support line right here, and then the top of this cup and handle right before the breakout. So I wouldn't be surprised if the hits there. Maybe has a really good summer move up, and maybe that even forms this a different cup and handle, right? Maybe we form that 60% move to the downside or 50% move to the downside. So we here, trigger buys here, gets back to 135, pushes up past that. So a couple of scenarios that we could be looking at. Again, really depends on liquidity, but I don't know. I'm not sold. I think that something dangerous is coming. And probably show you this as well. So obviously the 10-year eating shit. It's at 446. We were at that problem in March. But this is the 3-month. We were talking about this last week. Let's go to the weekly and look at the Bollinger Bands. They're breaking out. So this is usually a hint something bad is going to happen for short-term liquidity. But this is moving to the upside on the weekly. Again, last time that it had a really big breakout was February of 2020. So everything kind of just loops back to that 2020 time period. And I'm sure if we go back to the 2020 time period, it all loops back to 2011, I can't say anything before 2011, but 2008, 2007. It's all just debt being refinanced and thrown back into the market. And eventually it's catching up with itself 5 years later, catching up with itself right now. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I don't care about the trade deals. I think that we're just getting news that's helping us to get to OpEx. Eventually, when the window of volatility opens once again, could open tomorrow with CPI. More likely it happens Monday after the weekend, after we don't get any deals. And China's just like, you know what, let's rethink this. We'll talk again in 90 days. Then obviously you might have some tantrums that could send us in some pretty volatile directions.
All right. That is going to wrap it up for today. We do have some data this week. We get CPI tomorrow, so Consumer Price Index, the headline and the core numbers. Those are going to be important. Thursday is PPI. Also on Thursday, about 10 minutes after PPI, the Producer Price Index data comes out. Jerome Powell is talking. So Thursday morning is going to be pretty consequential.
He could shit on markets so bad. And again, him and Trump just doing that, this guy could just be like so hawkish and be like, we have to raise rates a lot higher. We're going away from our 2% inflationary mandate. That would fuck everything up.
He starts talking about an hour or so before the data comes out, or the market's open, I mean. So that is going to be something to watch. Yep. We will not be here Wednesday. I have a procedure Wednesday, so no go for me. We'll be back on Friday to talk through. Maybe Kevin and I will chat. Maybe we do something like Thursday after, with all the Powell stuff going on, and maybe we do a rare Thursday show. I don't know. We'll keep you guys posted. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Like today's episode. If there's anything you want us to talk about, drop a comment, hit us up on Twitter, all that good stuff. Appreciate you guys being here. Kev, appreciate you as always. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.